Item number: SCP-053. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-053 is to be contained in an area no less than 5 meters by 5 meters, 16 feet by 16 feet, and given adequate room to move. Toys, books, games, and other recreational devices are to be amply provided and rotated every 3 months. Proper bedding, bathroom, and medical facilities are to be maintained at all times. Food should be provided 3 times daily, and 2 snacks are allowed if requested. No physical contact is to be made with SCP-053 without full atmosphere containment suit and eye shield. No eye contact is to be made with SCP-053 for any reason. Any objects given to personnel by SCP-053 may be removed, but must be given to quarantine for examination. Only one member of personnel may be present in the room at any given time and must be secured by a safety line of steel cable. All personnel must be removed from SCP-053's containment chamber within 10 minutes of entering. Any personnel who begin to act erratically, scream, or attempt to grab SCP-053 are to be removed and quarantined. Any personnel attempting to remove their suit are also to be removed and quarantined. No sharp objects or firearms are allowed in SCP-053's containment room. Description: SCP-053 appears to be a small 3-year-old girl. She is capable of basic speech and appears to be slightly above average in mental development. She has a generally pleasant personality and rarely seems upset, becoming agitated only in the presence of groups of people. Any and all humans over the age of 3 who make eye contact with, physically touch, or remain around SCP-053 for longer than 10 minutes will rapidly become irrational, paranoid, and homicidal. Most, if not all, of these feelings will be directed at SCP-053, and afflicted subjects will attempt to kill SCP-053 after first killing or driving off all humans visible to them. Those attempting to kill SCP-053 will suffer massive heart attacks or seizures and die seconds after doing any physical damage to SCP-053. SCP-053 will regenerate almost instantaneously from any wound, regardless of severity. SCP-053 appears wholly ignorant of these effects, and ignores any and all subjects affected. When questioned about the effect, SCP-053 is incapable of response. Item number: SCP-171. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures: a 4,500-liter pool of seawater located at Bioresearch Area 12 is the current research location of SCP-171. Though not immediately dangerous, minimal physical contact between secretions of SCP-171 and its hosts are to be observed. All communications between hosts and researchers are to be recorded and transcribed. Human hosts are to be fed a vegan diet of their choosing. Other animal hosts are to be fed appropriately. Fresh seawater is to be cycled into its tank regularly. Description: originally, SCP-171 was thought to be a colony of microscopic organisms similar to SCP-968, or SCP-165, but further investigations revealed SCP-171 to be a single entity, spanning 300 square meters when first encountered. SCP-171 is a web-like matrix of small, fine tendrils of neurons, mucous glands, and muscle fibers suspended in a frothy foam of its own creation. It is not capable of self-locomotion, and does not actively attack or feed on other living organisms. Rather, it attempts to form a symbiotic relationship with all organisms it comes into contact with. Flagella of the muscle surrounding the neural fibers work mucus, sea salt, water, and other secretions into bubbles, forming a large foam support. Any creature that spends a significant amount of time in contact with the matrix of SCP-171, risks becoming integrated into a collective consciousness sustained by it. People who become covered in SCP-171 foam, describe a tingly or tickly sensation experienced, which researchers have observed as threads of SCP-171, tunneling through the skin to directly integrate into the subject's nervous system. In time, The simple motor neurons of subjects are expanded into an elaborate, two-way positive communication nexus, allowing the brains of hosts to communicate with each other and the entity of SCP-171. Over time, the individuality of subjects are incorporated into and shared with others of the SCP-171 matrix, resulting in a collective consciousness in which individual personalities are non-existent. There are currently 19 human subjects host to SCP-171, 11 civilian, 8 Class D personnel. Subjects are capable of traversing the foam without losing conscious contact with the collective as neuroreceptors on the subject's skin form to allow chemical communication between the subject and SCP-171 much in the same way terminal axons communicate with dendrites in the brain. These receptors on the skin look like small white to clear moles, slightly raised and very sensitive to touch. Some subjects disappear into the foam of SCP-171 and are not seen again for several months. It is unknown how they survive without fresh water or sustenance. Other hosts include 2 Australian porpoises, originally 4 beach gulls, 3 have been euthanized, 41 fish of various species, euthanized for study, 27 beach crabs, euthanized for study, and 1 canine. Within 2 hours, most subjects begin forming neuroreceptors on the skin and receiving neural contact with SCP-171. After 3 hours, a psychological bond has been established between subjects and the collective. After 6 hours, a complete integration and dependency on the collective has evolved. At this point, removing the subject from contact with SCP-171 results in manic and violent behavior along with eventual complete psychological breakdown of the individual, leading to a vegetative state of mind. 4 individuals have been lost in this manner. When interviewed, all subject hosts speak with the same core collective consciousness as if they were parts of a single entity. The collective is aware of itself and its composure of diverse individuals, and even laments the loss of each individual persona. SCP-171 tells researchers that it understands what it is, but not where it came from, explaining that its own intelligence and the intelligence of the hosts it incorporated were too simple to understand or remember its origin. Researchers noted the change in SCP-171's personality after integrating Class D personnel and chose not to allow inclusion of violent, ill-willed, or malevolent personnel from that point on. SCP-171 has expressed that through meditation and understanding, it chooses to avoid the consumption of other animals when possible. Addendum 171-1 SCP-171 was first encountered by beachgoers and surfers on August 12, 2007, along the Australian coastline near Yamba, New South Wales. When civilians playing in the foam began experiencing abnormal skin conditions, CDC officials contacted SCP personnel when they were unable to explain the anomaly. Addendum 171-2 Personnel who wished to be voluntarily integrated with SCP-171 must first be subject to a complete psychological evaluation to ensure sound mental health, with special emphasis on possible disconnection from humanity and potential suicidal tendencies. They are to be repeatedly warned that such integration is permanent, and that no evidence exists to show that SCP-171 in any way exhibits a state of higher consciousness, or indeed a consciousness significantly different from our own. If subject persists in wishing to be integrated, and has been shown to be making the decision in a state of sound mind, then they are to be permitted to do so. Item Number SCP-270 Object Class Euclid Special Containment Procedures Due to SCP-270's immovable nature, a structure has been built around it that outwardly appears to be a large farmhouse, henceforth called Outpost Delta. Outpost Delta is to be staffed with a minimum of trained personnel. Extensive records of SCP-270's ciphers are kept at Site-11. Extensive records of decoded ciphers are available in. If the security of Outpost Delta is compromised, SCP-270 is to be destroyed, along with all on-base records of verified or unverified information accumulated, and manuscripts outlining various encryptions SCP-270 has used. Description: SCP-270 is a nondescript black phone of mid-20th century make. There were no human populations exceeding people per square meters within a radius of the location of discovery, and SCP-270 itself was well hidden by surrounding native vegetation. The unusual properties of SCP-270 were apparent upon discovering that the power cord extended an indefinite length into the soil directly below SCP-270, despite which a steady voice was speaking through the earphone. Investigations regarding how long the cord is have since been officially discontinued. See Addendum 270-A. What makes SCP-270 of continued interest is the audio stream from the earphone, which has since been discovered to contain encrypted messages that are of value to the Foundation. Said ciphers are referred to as SCP-270-1. For the most part, SCP-270-1 consists of a mildly distorted human voice, see Addendum 270-B, speaking in a steady monotone, which has been recorded listing names, cryptic phrases, patterns of numbers, quotes, mangled quotes, strings of letters, incomprehensible words, sounds that cannot be produced by any known animal that continue for extended amounts of time. Unconfirmed languages have been distinguished to date, of which are reoccurring, monologues, nursery rhymes, leading to speculation as to whether or not the narrator is in fact human, etc. The following have also been recorded: melodies, periods of silence, which was stricken from the document, see Addendum 270-C, metallic scraping noises that have been looped and recalibrated so they play roughly in the same tune as several classical music tunes, and a handful of Morse code. Human screaming, various computer programming languages, every known language on Earth, including, in one incident, Pig Latin. Possibly of biological origin, condescending laughter, music played backwards, conversations that have evidently been recorded ranging from politically significant and extensively protected area to what was most likely an average household, discussing what grocery supplies to buy from the supermarket, static, ambient soundtracks, etc. SCP-270 is otherwise a perfectly normal phone and is susceptible to damage as similar phones would be. Disassembly has not uncovered the source of SCP-270's unusual properties.
Speaking into SCP-270 has no effect on SCP-270-1.
This was stricken from the document, currently disputed, refer to Incident 270- in which attempts to decipher SCP-270-1 have yielded partial successes. In one notable case, a complicated cipher proved to be an intensive description of an SCP's imminent attempt to breach containment. Evidence of such was found in the of SCP's containment. Containment breach was accordingly prevented. Decoded portions have alternately been startlingly useful to the Foundation, and immensely frustrating to both personnel working on SCP-270-1 and Foundation officials. For example, 1. Our study of what seemed to be a significant cipher proved to translate into a long and painstakingly thorough list of extremely unofficial synonyms for a human. Likewise, information gained from SCP-270-1 have both preventing a possible XK class end of the world scenario, and listed secret ingredients of Dr. S widely praised cherry pie. As it is impossible to determine how useful portions of SCP-270-1 will be, personnel are advised to choose whatever segments of SCP-270-1 they deem to be most promising. However, some portions of cipher are either too intricately encrypted for our most perspicacious personnel to decode, or indeed may hold no meaning at all. Attempts to decode SCP-270-1 are continually ongoing. See Addenda 270-D and 270-E, Addendum 270-A. A probe was extended a total of meters along the wire before the maximum extension length was reached. The matter has since been declared not of sufficient interest to merit a more thorough examination. Addendum 270-B. As of military time, the unidentified female voice of SCP-270-1 stuttered for seconds before breaking down into what researchers described as disconsolate sobs, pleading to be This continued for seconds before audio cut off abruptly to a minute excerpt of SCP-270-1 from. Immediately afterwards, SCP-270-1 proceeded as usual, the only noticeable difference being that the voice narrating SCP-270-1 was male. Addendum 270-C. Further examinations revealed that this was in fact not silence, but audio stimuli both too high or too low-pitched for human perception. Additional unidentified languages have been discovered upon supplying Outpost Delta with appropriate audio equipment. Addendum 270-D. As of late, SCP-270-1 has been becoming noticeably more difficult to decode. This includes utilizing more convoluted methods of encryption, loud background noises being added while the narrator is speaking, multiple voices speaking at once, and, in one case, loud, extremely personal details. Dr. who was visibly shaken by the event. Morale has since plummeted while stress levels have skyrocketed. A computer program has been coded in order to automatically decode portions of SCP-270-1. A recreation wing has been added to Outpost Delta. Addendum 270-E. Data Processor 270-1 has been discontinued. All attempts to electronically resolve portions of SCP-270-1 have thus far failed.
Level 5 security clearance required. As of late, concerns have risen regarding the psychological states of personnel working on SCP-270. What I'm talking about, of course, are the natural issues that arise when you have a situation like this. Namely, putting a bunch of highly intelligent, motivated, tenacious people together and ordering them to solve a puzzle that may or may not have a solution. And telling them that lives may depend upon their success or failure. Recently, Dr. by some superhuman effort, cracked minutes worth of cipher that had been discarded by communal agreement as a dud end, resulting in the aversion of a end-of-the-world scenario. This has not been beneficial for the mental states of many personnel, as every dud they discard may contain information regarding an equally disastrous event. Since then, there have been rapidly emerging paranoia and or obsession-related disorders. Some personnel are beginning to insist that the most trivial details of the cipher contain important messages, others have not slept or eaten in days in their pursuits, and still others have suffered from psychotic breakdowns. Outpost Delta has since been supplied with more personnel in an attempt to spread the workload more thinly. However, the effects of having a few days of diligent work crumble into a dud, repeatedly, have proven to be an absolute disaster for morale and, at times, mental stability. Currently, we only have enough staff to decode roughly % of the cipher. So far, reassigning personnel after a month stay at Outpost Delta, applying Class A amnestics, and returning them to work on 270-1 at the end of a month period of low-pressure jobs has worked fairly well as a short-term solution. This, however, requires a rather large number of personnel to be continually circulating in and out of Outpost Delta to maintain the minimum amount of staff required to decode the greater portion of what comes out of SCP-270. In addition, long-term circulation through Outpost Delta has been shown to ingrain certain paranoid and obsessive mental behaviors that Class A amnestics don't wipe clean. Nature of SCP-270, this is exactly what it wants, if certain people are to be trusted. Disconcerting to said O5 member. Not in fact a method of safe communication between unknown entities, as originally hypothesized, but rather. I request for this matter to be discussed more in depth sometime in the near future.
Dr.
Item Number, SCP-362. Object Class, Safe. Special Containment Procedures, SCP-362 may be sealed in a polypropylene bag and stored in an indexed box on-site within Vault 2B, stricken. SCP-362 is to be stored in a polypropylene bag and kept in a standard lockbox. This lockbox is to be kept in a dedicated room with no materials pertaining to other SCPs, including handwritten and/or typed files, smartphones, PDAs, post-it notes, memos, etc. Electronic devices with access to the Internet and/or on-site intranet are forbidden from entering and/or accessing said room. Containment chamber should include non-relevant books and magazines along with blank notebooks, for observation purposes. Only persons possessing Level 1 clearance or lower may receive authorization to enter the containment chamber and where SCP-362, which shall be done for research purposes and for said purposes only. Dr. Redacted and O5 Redacted possess keys unlocking SCP-362's lockbox. No other copies may be made without O5 authorization. 2 security personnel must bar access to anyone not possessing the required clearance, and at least 1 surveillance camera must monitor each of the following for both research and security purposes: exterior of chamber entryway, interior of chamber entryway, lockbox, and the chamber itself. Description: SCP-362 is a light blue t-shirt bearing the logo of Redacted, a children's Saturday morning cartoon television program popular in the late 1980s and early 90s. It is a size M, medium, with short sleeves. Its color appears to have faded, and was likely a darker shade of blue. Its tag states the t-shirt is made of 100% cotton. Testing has confirmed this statement. Despite its apparent age, it is in good condition apart from said fading. Its collar and sleeves are not worn or threadbare, and it has no holes or rips. Test subjects wearing SCP-362 have unanimously reported no feelings of discomfort, unease, or foreboding. 5 subjects, whose ages range from 22 to 35, have expressed what can perhaps be informally phrased as amused nostalgia upon donning SCP-362. In tests, it has been worn as briefly as 3.6 seconds and as long as redacted days, with a mean duration of redacted hours. Aside from the obvious inconvenience of wearing an item of clothing longer than a few days, the test subject in each case reported normal emotional responses. Upon doffing SCP-362, its effects are immediate and almost invariable among tests, the only significant variable being the duration test subjects must endure the phenomenon before it ends. Immediately after pulling SCP-362 off over his or her head, the test subject reports several to dozens of humanoid figures suddenly appearing in the room with them. The figures appear after the instant the test subject's vision becomes obscured by the material of SCP-362 passing over the subject's eyes as it is removed. These figures present with absolutely indeterminate features. Most to all of these figures seem to fix their attention on the test subject, and unless approached will stand motionless. A test subject who moves around the test chamber will find that these figures also move, but only to keep their attention fixed on the subject and or to avoid physical contact with the subject. These figures will go as far as to phase through the confines of the test chamber to avoid contact with any living being. The figures themselves have been variously described as blurry, mirages, and, most commonly, as shadowy or made of shadows. Often, a few of these figures will seem to take no interest in the test subject but will instead explore their surrounding environment. They will appear to touch items, rifle through piles of paper, page through books, operate computers, etc., though recordings demonstrate that they do not actually manipulate objects in any observable way. Stricken. Twice, a figure reportedly has appeared to handle and operate a device like a Geiger counter, with which the figure seemed to scan objects or take readings for the duration of the sighting. Upon review of archived episodes of Redacted, the show appears never to have referenced or depicted anything resembling the figures which have appeared to all test subjects. After experimentation, test subjects, even those who expressed eagerness and/or amusement at the prospect of wearing SCP-362, express unease when prompted to discuss the show. Though these figures reveal themselves only to the test subject, do not generate significant fluctuations in sensory equipment, and fail to manipulate physical objects, it is recommended that security protocol regarding SCP-362 include vault containment with access granted only to relevant researchers and personnel. Stricken. In light of Incident SCP-362-02, and in order to avoid cross-contamination of SCPs and prevent security breaches, no items, information, or personnel of Level 2 clearance or higher may ever be present in SCP-362's chamber prior to, during, or immediately after experimentation. Furthermore, under no circumstances may SCP-362 be worn by any person for longer than 9 days. Addendum: immediately prior to said incident, test subject had worn SCP-362 for 31 days. As per research protocol, test subject had not been informed of the effects of doffing SCP-362. Upon removal, Site Redacted experienced a containment breach which lasted redacted minutes when primary and secondary power systems simultaneously failed. All debriefed personnel at Site Redacted reported experiencing feelings of dread during the breach, many of whom were trapped in rooms without power or means of egress when failsafe systems activated. Some personnel reported the sensation that other persons inhabited the room with them during the breach despite being alone immediately beforehand. Many personnel felt as though they were being watched. Immediately after the breach, upon restoration of secondary power, primary power took an additional redacted minutes to come back online. Site Redacted personnel discovered files scattered, books open, and notes in disarray. IT Division reported that several computers and other devices had accessed, data expunged. Test subject expired due to ventricular fibrillation redacted minutes after secondary power failed. Autopsy revealed abnormally high adrenaline levels in subject's bloodstream. Authorization to upgrade SCP-362 to Euclid class pending. Interview log for Experiment 362 redacted. Interviewer, Dr. Redacted with Dr. Redacted. Test subject, D1022. Time, 5 minutes. Data expunged. Please describe your surroundings. I don't know. It's like an office, I guess. Papers. Notepads. There's a box in front of me. Is anyone in the room with you? D1022, chuckling. I thought you were watching me. You know, through cameras. We are. Is there anyone in the room with you? Is there supposed to be? Ain't no one in here but me. Thank you. Please use the key provided to open the box in front of you, then put on what you find inside. D1022, after brief silence, what, it's just a shirt. Louder, oh hell yeah, redacted? Ah man, I used to watch that show all the time. Please put it on. Sure thing. Ha, can I keep it? Dr. Redacted, with some amusement, I'm afraid not. Show was the shit. Subject sings what has been identified as the theme song of said children's program as he puts on SCP-362. Okay, it's on. So, what now? You'll receive further instructions in 5 minutes. Until then, you may busy yourself with whatever you find in the room. Subject swivels back and forth in his chair as he hums aforementioned tune. At T-3 minutes, he draws humanoid figures with a pen. Can you tell me why you've drawn those figures? Just keeping busy, like you said. Yes, but why those particular figures? What? You're telling me you never watched, redacted? We've reviewed some episodes, yes. D1022, pointing, this is, redacted. Come on, man, don't tell me you don't see the resemblance. Dr. Redacted, with amusement, oh yes, of course. It's the very likeness of him. PHFF, whatever. I'm a good artist. Time is up. You may remove that item of clothing. All right. Subject removes SCP-362 over his head. The instant he can see again, D1022 stumbles backwards against the desk behind him. Oh shit, SHIT. What's wrong? What is this? What's going on? Please describe your surroundings. Who are all these people? Please describe what you see. They're watching me. They're ghosts or something. Get me out of here. You are not in any danger. Please describe them in further detail. What do you want? What do you want? Subject rushes forward. You want a piece of this? Stop fucking moving. You are not in any danger. Please do not attack them. Dr. Redacted, to Dr. Redacted, inaudible to D1022, if he provokes them, maybe we'll get some new data. D1022 continues to turn and lunge at unseen opponents for 16 seconds of silence. Then where'd they go? They're gone? Describe how they went. They just went. Just 1 minute there and then, what were they? D1022 begins to shiver visibly. Is something wrong? Is it colder in the room? Can I get a temperature reading? Doctor redacted, overlapping, it's normal. No change. D1022, is it colder in the room than it was before? Get me out of here. I'm not telling you anything else until you let me out. Data expunged. Experiment logs. Data expunged. 362E005. Date, 030620 redacted. D2323, recruited specifically for this experiment due to his skill at dart throwing, wore SCP-362 for 5 minutes. After effects lasted 2 minutes and 36 seconds. During this period, D2323 was encouraged to throw darts at the figures and report verbally on results. Due to panic which D2323 experienced, subject utilized only 1 minute and 6 seconds of time available to him. Findings seem to confirm hypothesis based on previous experiments. Figures will phase through walls, blink in and out of visibility, and/or move more quickly than seems possible in order to avoid contact with either biological objects or non-biological objects introduced into the chamber with hostile intent. Data expunged. 362E012. Date, 05/12/20 redacted. 44 D-class personnel introduced into chamber prior to experimentation. Subjects became claustrophobic. Staff introduced a mild tranquilizing gas into chamber to avoid compromising the experiment. Afterward, D3197 wore SCP-362 for 5 minutes, and, during that time, led the other participants in a chorus of the television show's theme song. This appears to have been the result of introducing the gas into the chamber, and is likely not an effect of SCP-362, though further experimentation may be necessary to confirm this hypothesis. After D3197 was instructed to remove SCP-362, he reported seeing figures for approximately 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Immediately upon removal, 9 D-class personnel disappeared from the chamber. D3197 reported that, where the vanished D-class personnel had stood, the figures appeared in their place. Remaining D-class personnel exhibited signs of panic, despite lacking the ability to see the figures themselves. In order to avoid a possible containment breach due to D-class personnel overcoming the effects of the tranquilizer and causing damage to the test chamber and/or each other, a paralytic agent was introduced into the room. Incident Log SCP-362-03. Date, redacted. After Experiment 362E012, researchers have identified anomalous data appearing on terminals during SCP-362 experimentation. First sample located on terminal redacted's hard drive after post-experimentation scan, see experiment log for 362E013. 2 more samples generated during E014 and E015. Current hypothesis posits a correlation between missing D-class personnel and content of anomalous data. Find a sample of said data attached. For full documentation, see redacted. I was one who sang and one who watched the song, and now we watch the song and watch for signs. It is 2.957, it is 3.6602, it is 5.5 repeating, it is 5, it is 4.3, it is 10,055,092.3, it is repeating. These are signs, there are more signs, but these are signs we have seen when we watch the song. We see the song at all times, always at each time we see the song we have, and duly note the sign of 3.6602 and the sign of 5.5 repeating, it is repeating. These are the signs. 3.6602 5.5 repeating 2.95754.3 10,055,093.3. We are watching the signs at all times. We are watching then and now we duly note that we are watching.
Item number SCP-211. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. Because of the suburban location of SCP-211, the surrounding neighborhood has been vacated through intentional introduction of pollutive industry and redistricting, to promote NIMBY sentiment. In addition, the property surrounding SCP-211 is currently under Foundation management, and an armed guard has been stationed in the buildings. Unauthorized personnel entering the area are to be terminated on site. A series of explosive charges has been set within SCP-211, and is to be examined every days for degradation. Should SCP-211 become overtly hostile or neutralization is otherwise requested, it is to be terminated by detonating these charges simultaneously. To avoid inadvertent activation of SCP-211's defense mechanisms, extraction of SCP-211-1 should take place at a rate of fewer than pages per hour. Description: SCP-211 is a two-story building located in an abandoned district of Iowa. Records from the archives heavily suggest that the building was originally a middle-class dwelling, belonging to since deceased of natural cause. Since then, all furnishings have disappeared, save standard light fixtures and a radiator, pictured above. Note that several of these light switches have not been discovered, rendering them useless. Additionally, the building's topography has been nearly completely covered with an estimated sheets of paper, hereafter collectively designated as SCP-211-1. Given these facts, SCP-211 itself is in remarkably poor condition. Severe mold and grime contamination are threatening to collapse a large section of the second floor, and the attempted May 4th demolition, see Document 211-01, has left a large hole in the south wall of the building. Recovered sheets of SCP-211-1 may be of various aspect and origins, blank, depicting various images, ripped pages from books, most often encyclopedias or novels, printouts from the internet, etc. The paper may be of any color. In fact, the above picture is of the only hallway in which all sheets are printed on white paper. Entire stacks of paper have been discovered in the building's basement, whose individual sheets bear little or no relation to each other. Their only real identifying characteristic is that individual sheets' edges are unusually sharp, and that should a portion of SCP-211-1 be removed, more sheets appear, from unknown origin, as replacement. Research is pending, but so far, individually, SCP-211-1's constituent parts seem to have little purpose beyond and defense. Document 211-01. SCP status for SCP-211 was established after the building was condemned and scheduled for demolition on May 4, when the building attacked the team, hereafter labeled Incident 0. The following is an interview of one of 4 survivors, conducted by Dr. Spinoza.
Please state your name and occupation.
Employed at construction. Well, former employee. Can't exactly do my job with one crippled leg, now can I?
My sympathies. Please discuss the events involving the attempted destruction of.
Well, construction, that is, we're commissioned to destroy that thing. So we set about finding the best way to do it. We pretty much ruled out undermining for some reason. Something to do. Main thing is management decides to just use a couple of bulldozers to level the thing.
Was there any action on the part of the building before you attempted demolition?
Not really. We went in there, after all, making tests and all that. Found the mold, joked about all that paper all over the place. Only thing that really happened before we started was, when we were in the basement and someone else, I forget who, started ripping pages from the wall, just to check how bad the mold was. Big stack of the stuff suddenly drops from the ceiling, out of nowhere, on top of the guy, and he gets a nice bunch of paper cuts. Thing that got us, though? His gear was all cut up as all hell. I mean, clothing, hat, glasses, what have you. All nicked up, had a big damn gouge in his glasses. Damn good thing he was wearing those glasses, I tell you.
And then?
Well, we didn't like being in a big house of knives, so we got him out of there. Other than that, besides, and nothing else happened.
And on May 4th?
Well, we had everything set up and started driving a pair of bulldozers toward the house, when all of a sudden all that paper on that one wall, outside, right? Well, it all just falls off by itself. Now, I should tell you, that day there wasn't a breeze in the air at all. So we thought that, the building's destroying itself and stuff, and we decide to help it along, and all of a sudden there's a big rumble. One you can hear over the bulldozers, and all that paper flies into the air by itself and tears up everything in sight.
Document 211-02. Subsequent to Incident 0, Testing was taken to determine the responsiveness of SCP-211. D-Class personnel were issued a video camera and ordered to interact with SCP-211 in various ways. Video Log 1. Subject, D-19905 ordered to approach and explore SCP-211. Result. No response. D-19905 interacted with SCP-211-1 without threat. Building map of first floor made with camera footage. Video Log 2. Subject. D-19905 ordered to approach and extract a sheet of SCP-211-1. Result. No response. Page appears to be. Video Log 3. Subject. D-19905 ordered to approach and extract a pile of SCP-211-1 near SCP-211's entrance. Result. Before extracting the target, D-19905 hesitates and examines a large poster on the wall near it. When questioned, D-19905 remarks that it's a painting that he made while incarcerated at, and proceeds to pick it up without incident. When D-19905 picks up the target, a pile of SCP-211-1 falls over, landing on him. D-19905 emerges, suffering lacerations to arms, legs, and face, but manages to extract the collection from SCP-211. Video Log 4. Subject, D-19905 ordered to approach SCP-211 and explore second floor. Result. D-19905 enters building via Incident 0 hole without incident. Upon entering contaminated area, D-19905 steps on a weakened part of the floor, which collapses. D-19905 exits building with a broken leg.
Well, at least we know we can destroy it if we need to.
Dr. Spinoza. Video Log 5. Subject. D-21938 issued a pack of matches and ordered to light a sheet of SCP-211-1 with an SCP-211 on fire. Result. Remains removed from door, but main entrance to SCP-211 is now blocked, leaving the Incident 0 hole as the only entrance.
Let's not try that one again, alright? I mean, you're...
Dr. Spinoza. Addendum 21101. Since collection of SCP-211-1 has begun, several specific books have become identified as their origin. Examples of these are as follows. A 19 copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf, found in Public Library. A Java Data Structures book, printed in 19 discovered in a used bookstore near Site 17. Currently stored in the United States Library of Congress. 3 printouts of Japanese broadcasts decoded during the Magic Cryptanalysis project in World War II. The drawing in document 21102. Etc. No documents the Foundation have been discovered as of yet, however, security has been increased as a mild informational security threat. Addendum 21102. Recent unexplained phenomena regarding SCP-211 have provoked further study. On 28 March, 3 individual sheets of SCP-211-1 were found in SCP-211's entrance. Examination of these sheets proved to be Foundation protocol memoranda addressed to Dr. Spinoza, the interviewer of the previously mentioned. Upon questioning, Spinoza, who had been at Site 17 another project, noted that the notices had disappeared soon after he received them, adding that since this date, there have been other data security breaches involving SCP-211-1, several of which involve SCP-211 as subject material. Upgrade to Euclid status pending. Item Number: SCP-112. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-112 is contained within the abandoned amusement park, designated site. Site is to be staffed with a standard complement of 12 armed guards dressed in designated amusitastic land garb, to prevent civilian interference. SCP-112's power supply is housed within a standard Foundation prefab building with 2 high-security door locks and a standard staff of 6 security staff and 1 operator. Since all other rides in site are intentionally disabled, civilian intervention is low. As the anomalous properties of SCP-112 occur regardless of its condition, only mandatory maintenance work is to be done on SCP-112. This also ensures that local civilians treat SCP-112 and its surroundings as abandoned and ignored. All tests involving SCP-112 must be conducted with a portable toilet nearby, as well as a small table with basic food and drink items. Description: SCP-112 is a steel sit-down roller coaster, formerly known as the Blue Steel Surfer. Built in 19... SCP-112 was marketed as the crown jewel of the amusement park. Initial testing of the ride resulted in extremely negative experiences from testing staff. When these reports became public knowledge, the financial repercussions of the failure of the Steel Surfer resulted in the parent company of the amusement park going bankrupt. The property was abandoned and undisturbed until when the local gang broke into the park and reactivated the improperly disabled rides, SCP-112 included. When police attempted to arrest the members who were exiting SCP-112 after its inaugural ride, the riders began to attracting local media attention. For more information, see Archive 112. Suspecting the ride had traits within its mandate, the Foundation purchased the park, under the auspices of rebuilding the park as a musitastic land, in order to test any potential anomalous properties from the ride. When SCP-112 is started, the ride functions as expected until Point Alpha, its primary drop. When a car reaches Point Alpha, the train vanishes. After 3 minutes, the estimated time the train would normally take, the train rematerializes at Point Omega, 3 meters from the coaster starting point. Human subjects riding SCP-112 have a drastically different experience compared to outside observation. The time frame between Point Alpha and Point Omega is massively extended, with subjective ride times ranging from 4 minutes to months. The properties of the ride also vary from person to person. Most subjects report elements on the ride that do not exist on the ride proper, like bat wings, cobra rolls, and inclined loops. Subjects do not have any sense that the rest of the world is alien or otherwise different, only the ride experience is different. Upon exiting the ride, subjects typically experience feelings of confusion and ill health, depending on the subjective time they spent riding SCP-112. These feelings are based not on any physical maladies but the subjective experience of dealing with a physical malady for an extended period of time. For example, a subject with a subjective ride time of 3 days may experience confusion that he had strong feelings of hunger for most of his ride, but at the end of the ride he was not hungry at all. Addendum A. Assorted Experiments. Experiment 112-3453-4. Date: 02-22. Subject: D-34-534. D-34-534 was sent on SCP-112 at 2:42 p.m. The train reached Point Alpha at 2:43 p.m., rematerialization at 2:46 p.m. Upon exiting SCP-112, D-34-534 quietly asked for aspirin before passing out. Upon revival and medication, D-34-534 reported a subjective ride time of 36 minutes, with multiple loops and twists not found on SCP-112's architecture. Experiment 11-26-75-64. Date: 05-14. Subject: D-67-564. D-67-564 was sent on SCP-112 at 1:30 p.m. The train reached Point Alpha at 1:31 p.m., rematerialization at 1:34 p.m. D-67-564 reported a subjective ride time of 4 minutes, which D-67-564 reported as enjoyable with the exception of that part where the car jumps off the track and lands right before the loop. Experiment 11-25-893. Date: 0601. Subject: D-5893. D-5893 was sent on SCP-112 at 12:30 p.m. The train reached Point Alpha at 12:31 p.m., rematerialization at 12:34 p.m. At the end of the ride, D5893 immediately ran to the table with consumables, wordlessly consuming everything he could grab onto, including the wrappers of previously consumed food objects. D5893 became violent when Foundation staff attempted to subdue him, even going so far as to. Upon capture and interviewing, D5893 remained confused and disoriented, continuously saying the phrases "no food till the ride is over," "let me sleep," "let the spinning stop," and 152 lights. The Foundation believes that D5893's statements imply that his subjective ride time was approximately 5 months long, and during his trip he experienced 5 months' worth of malnutrition and exhaustion, despite no physical proof of those experiences found. Experiment 1-12-7556. Date: 0808. Subject: D7556, one standard issue camera facing D7556. D7556 was sent on SCP-112 at 11:36 a.m. The train reached Point Alpha at 11:37 a.m., rematerialization at 11:40 a.m. D7556 experienced symptoms similar, but muted, to those of D5893. During the interview, D7556 explained that his subjective ride time was 1 month and 6 days long. During his trip, he was unable to eat or sleep, and suffered major headaches from SCP-112. D7556 reported experiencing every sort of roller coaster element currently in use, and a few believed to be conceptual. Camera footage, lasting 3 minutes, shows D7556 sobbing for the duration of the ride, with movement consistent with SCP-112's physical track. Addendum B. Writer interviews. Experiment 1-12-35784-23512, post-ride interview number 1.
How are you feeling, 35784?
I'm fine. It was just a roller coaster ride, dude. Maybe you have me confused with the other guy. You know, the one that attacked when the ride was over?
I will, in time. Describe your experience on SCP-112, please.
Haha, what's there to say? Before I was sent to jail, I designed coasters. A couple minutes too long of a ride, you always gotta worry about that, but the twists that thing has are damn good. A few of them, I'm pretty sure I mocked up back in. It would have been a lot better if the tard next to me wasn't acting like a damn fool.
D2351-2? What was he doing?
It's what he wasn't doing that pissed me off. He was slouched over so much that his restraints were taut, just facing forward. Think his mouth was open the entire time. If it were possible, I'd say he looked like someone who had been on a crying jag for a few hours. I dunno. When we got that slow point before the banked curve, I tried snapping my fingers in front of him. Idiot just barely turned to face me. And you know what happened afterwards?
Yes, he punched you.
Not really a punch, really. Slapped me, shaking me, trying to choke me. I didn't get the impression that he really wanted to kill me, just wanted to get an answer out of me. That's what he said, actually. Shit like, why didn't you look at me? And why did you not stop cheering the whole time? In a very hoarse voice. Was in mid-question with another when the guards introduced their rifles to the back of his head.
Experiment 1-12-35784-23512, post-ride interview number 2. Forward. This interview was conducted 3 weeks after riding on SCP-112 with D35784. D23512 is not willing to speak verbal since his ride. From time to time he attempts to speak, but shows signs of discomfort and pain in doing so, stating that his throat is too sore to talk. While there are no medical issues with D23512, his experiences have obviously left him traumatized from his experience on SCP-112. Dr. estimates a full recovery is possible before monthly terminations, and that at such time he will be capable of estimating precisely how long his subjective ride time was. This interview was conducted through written communication. Given his fixation on certain traits of the ride, this transcript has been edited for brevity.
Hello, 23512. How are you feeling?
Still hurts. Still dizzy. Loops and loops. Spins. Forever and ever.
Why do you say your throat hurts?
Screamed over and over. Girl wouldn't answer me. She never looked at me. I screamed and screamed till I couldn't scream anymore. Throat got better. Screamed again. Never looked, never noticed. Just kept cheering the hell of ups and downs and ups and side to side and side to side.
I'm assuming you're talking about the person who went on the ride with you. 35784.
Girl with the big jiggling tits. Cheered and laughed and cheered and laughed. Every spin, every turn, every twist, even when it got dark I could hear her laughing and wooing. Couldn't sleep 'cause of her laughing and cheering. Light and day, bright and dark, always screaming and giggling. How could she do that?
She told me you were just sitting there, staring ahead. She said she tried to get your attention, but she never responded.
I waved and shook her. She didn't move, didn't notice, just kept cheering. Tried to tune her out for a few months at a time, but she never noticed me. Kept cheering, kept screaming, kept laughing at me. Starved and peed myself and slammed my head against the side till I bled. Just kept laughing and screaming through the loops and the spins and the deep dark dips that never ended, never stopped crushing.
23512. I am trying to help you, but acting insane won't help you in the least. There was no injury to your head at the end of the ride.
I was there. I felt it, the warm on my head till it got cold and stopped spilling. Still itches.
So what happened at the end of the ride? You had a bit of an issue with 35784.
She stopped laughing and giggling after all that time, and she looks at me and smiles and says, "Nice ride, eh?" And I shook her and tried to ask her why she wouldn't stop laughing and screaming. I didn't want to hurt her, not really. Just wanted to know why.
Repeats. Times until D23512 is disabled. Item number. SCP-301. Object Class. Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-301 is to be kept in a secure, electromagnetically sealed bunker buried under at least 10 meters of earth to conceal its location. The bunker is to be staffed by no fewer than 4 Level 3 security personnel at all times in order to secure the site and to maintain automated security measures. The perimeter of the bunker is to be lined with a chain-link fence with official warnings to deter intruders. Due to the remote location of SCP-301, additional security is not required. During experimentation, all research staff and equipment must maintain a minimum distance of at least 3 meters from the projected edge of SCP-301. In the event of a containment breach, on-site personnel with the proper security clearance are authorized to implement Emergency Protocol C-301. All possible entrances to the bunker will automatically seal themselves and remain sealed indefinitely. Emergency Protocol C-301 can only be countermanded by an O5 level command. Description: SCP-301 is an anomalous region roughly 3 meters in diameter, located in the middle of National Park. Whenever physical matter enters SCP-301, it temporarily disappears from existence. Following a delay of variable length, the matter that had entered SCP-301 will appear in another location. The duration of this time delay is variable, with a minimum length of seconds and a maximum length of minutes. The exact destination appears to be a random vertex point on a geodesic grid overlaying the Earth's surface. Each leg of this pattern is approximately 20 kilometers long, resulting in possible destination points. The prevailing model of SCP-301's workings is that teleportation occurs by accessing a coterminous interspatial region lying in a frame of reference attached to the center of the Earth. SCP-301 is invisible to the naked eye, but is detectable through other spectra. SCP-301 also passively emits electromagnetic energy. While not harmful to living organisms, it does interfere with improperly shielded electronics, and may explain why the native fauna does not venture near SCP-301. Through experimentation, it has been discovered that SCP-301 can accommodate any kind of physical matter with certain size thresholds. The maximum size object that SCP-301 can accommodate can be no larger than SCP-301's 3-meter diameter. There is also a minimum limit, though this is based on density rather than size. Currently, most gases and anything on a molecular level are not affected by SCP-301. For further details, see the experiment logs. SCP-301 was discovered when there was a spike in disappearances of hikers and tourists in National Park, only for several of them to be rediscovered far from the site of their disappearance. The Foundation did not act until it received reports of one of the missing hikers being found in France, and another near New South Wales, Australia. Subsequent interviews with these individuals produced inconsistent descriptions of the event, even after the use of Subject 301A1, retrieved in France, described the transfer as a floating sensation, with a mild forward impetus, accompanied by the ringing of thousands of huge bells, and smelling like wet dog and wood smoke, but having no other sensory components. However, Subject 301A2, retrieved near New South Wales, Australia, described it as a floating sensation with no sense of forward momentum, but including the salty taste, prickling feeling, like a foot going to sleep over the entire body, and being able to see stringy stuff surrounding the subject. Both subjects were administered a Class A amnestic and released. See document 3010-1846-78A for full interview transcripts. While searching for the anomaly at National Park, agents accidentally entered SCP-301. They disappeared for approximately minutes until the signals from their locator beacons were reacquired. Kilometers and kilometers from their last recorded position respectively. Agent's body was recovered by a deep water retrieval team 43 kilometers SSW of India. Agent was recovered near Angola, suffering from exposure, malaria, and amoebic dysentery. Foundation personnel were able to debrief Agent before he died. Agent characterized the teleportation experience as being swept by a strong current that stank of shit. He also stated that he saw flames, and reported hearing sand falling, and tasting sugar, then dirt, in a repeating cycle. Agent died 2 days later. Based on the agent's testimony, SCP-301 was found to be located on a regularly used hiking trail. The Foundation rerouted the hiking trail, and built the current facility containing SCP-301. From information gathered from Subjects 301A1 and 301A2, and Agent, it appears that the interspatial region accessed upon entering SCP-301 is experienced differently by each subject. This experience can manifest as a wide variety of sensory phenomena, including tactile, gustatory, olfactory, visual, oral, and kinetic sensations. Experimentation with Class D personnel to further study this aspect of SCP-301 is recommended. A selection of post-experiment analyses are collected in Experiment Log 301C. Experiment Log 301A.
Using remote exploration in conjunction with ongoing live experimentation, we have managed to map out much of the geodesic grid that SCP-301 teleportation follows. While this has resulted in the discovery of a large number of sites that require Foundation monitoring, many of these sites are in locations that make monitoring them a moot point, that is, the dozens of egress points that open in the middle of the ocean.
Dr. Experiment Log 301B.
After increasing the size of test materials, we finally found that SCP-301 cannot accommodate items larger than itself. If a piece of matter that exceeds SCP-301's 3-meter diameter is placed on SCP-301, there will be no effect. This has been noted for future containment protocols. There is also a minimum limit for what SCP-301 can accommodate. We filled the containment room with easily detectable gases, as well as bombarding SCP-301 with radioactive particles. However, there is no evidence of any of these substances being successfully transported. The prevailing hypothesis is that SCP-301's minimum limit is based on density rather than size. Solids and liquids are affected while gases and individual molecules are not.
Dr. Experiment Log 301C. Entries include subject identification number, egress point, and trip duration, followed by a listing of major sensory elements of the teleportation experience. Note that, for recovery purposes, all test subjects are equipped with a remote beacon harness that reports the subject's GPS coordinates to a Foundation satellite every 15 seconds from anywhere on Earth. Subject D05738. Egress point: Iowa, United States. Duration: minutes. Kinetic: none. Visual: none. Auditory, none. Olfactory, none. Tactile, sensation of slimy tendrils moving over subject's body. Gustatory, none. Other notes, none. Subject, D09983. Egress point. China. Duration. Minutes. Kinetic, floating sensation, as though suspended in liquid. Visual, a red transparent liquid environment. Subject reports seeing many red blood cell-like objects of approximately 3 cm to 50 cm in diameter. Subject also reports seeing a very large shadowy object moving in the distance. Auditory, none. Olfactory, none. Tactile, none. Gustatory, coppery taste. Other notes, subject reports feeling as though they are about to drown throughout duration of transfer. Subject, D25684. Egress point. Mexico. Duration. Seconds. Kinetic, rapid flying sensation. Visual, subject reports seeing the terrain they would normally have traveled through to reach the end point of the teleportation process. They also report being unable to see their body. See below. Auditory, rushing wind. Olfactory, fresh bread. Tactile, none. Gustatory, none. Other notes. Subject also reports seeing a variety of semi-transparent organisms during transit. These creatures. Subject, D56001. Egress point. Germany. Duration. Minutes. Kinetic, none. Visual, none. Auditory, none. Olfactory, none. Tactile, none. Gustatory, none. Other notes. Subject retrieved exhibiting strong schizophrenia interspersed with lengthy periods of catatonia. This is the first time exposure to SCP-301 has resulted in this level of mental trauma. Subject, D56187. Egress point, near. Brazil. Duration. Seconds. Kinetic, gentle forward movement. Visual, unknown. Subject rendered blind and cannot recall any visual stimuli from his time in SCP-301. Auditory, none. Olfactory, none. Tactile, spots of cold moving across the left arm. Gustatory, none. Other notes, first instance of exposure to SCP-301 causing a physical change in subject. Subject. D58092. Egress point, near. Laos. Duration. Minutes. Kinetic, free fall. Visual, none. Auditory, a repeating complex multitonal scale. Foundation staff are currently attempting to recreate this scale. Olfactory, acetic acid, vinegar. Tactile, none. Gustatory, none. Other notes, though sensors reported a second delay between the subject entering SCP-301 and reappearing at the destination. D58092 insisted that she had been in SCP-301 for several days. The possibility of a time dilation effect should be investigated. Subject, D60014. Egress point, near. Canada. Duration. Seconds. Kinetic, flying sensation, described as, oddly slow. Visual, subject reports seeing an unknown number of interlocking gears as far as she can see. Auditory, grinding gears. Olfactory, machine oil. Tactile, none. Gustatory, none. Other notes, upon return, subject exhibited an unusual fascination with machinery. 3 days later, subject D60014 began asking personnel about several mechanical SCP objects, including SCP, 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 and SCP. And displaying knowledge about them that only level 4 or higher staff could know. Subject interrogated and terminated 15 days ahead of schedule. Subject, D6445. Egress point, near. Siberia, Russia. Duration. Minutes. Kinetic, unknown. Visual, unknown. Auditory, unknown. Olfactory, unknown. Tactile, unknown. Gustatory, unknown. Other notes, subject found bisected along the coronal plane. Cause unknown. Subject, D61429. Egress point, near. Florida, United States. Duration. Minutes. Kinetic, floating. Visual, painfully bright white light. Auditory, shouting voices, like everyone in the whole world was shouting at me at once. No individual words could be discerned. Olfactory, none. Tactile, pain over the entire body, described as, like having red-hot needles stabbing every inch of me. Gustatory, none. Other notes, subject reports being watched, and being judged by unknown entities. Subject, D62-225. Egress point, near. Niger. Duration. Minutes. Kinetic, unknown. Visual, unknown. Auditory, unknown. Olfactory, unknown. Tactile, unknown. Gustatory, unknown. Other notes, several life forms of the types described by D25684 appear with subject. Subject is killed and life forms. Area is sterilized. Item number. SCP-016. Object class. Keter. Special containment procedures. SCP-016 is to remain within the confines of a 5 by 5 by 5 meter room at all times, maintained at a temperature not to exceed 0 degrees Celsius. SCP-016 itself is to remain in the petri dish in the containment cube at all times unless directed otherwise by Level 4 or 05 personnel. Full documentation of experimentation with SCP-016 must be submitted before and after samples and duplicates of SCP-016 may be taken. Failure to follow these procedures will result in termination or reassignment as Class D personnel. Only authorized personnel may be permitted to obtain samples of and experiment with SCP-016 under BCL-5 containment conditions. If an outbreak does occur despite following the aforementioned procedures, Directive Base personnel are to implement a Code Sigma lockdown and containment plan. Infected personnel are to be terminated on site by security forces wearing standard mission-oriented protective posture anti-biological and anti-chemical equipment. Should the infection not be contained after 48 hours, the on-site nuclear device is to be detonated. Remaining personnel are not to be evacuated under any circumstances. SCP-016 has been shown to survive for up to 6 hours on hard surfaces, and up to several minutes in air. High-intensity ultraviolet light and high concentrations of orthophthalealdehyde solution have been demonstrated to be effective in disinfecting non-organic surfaces. Description: SCP-016 is a bloodborne pathogen recovered from a mine worker who injured himself while working in a deep coal seam. Said wound became contaminated with coal dust from the mine, possibly infecting the worker with dormant spores. Over the next several days, SCP-016 proceeded to infect the remaining employees at the mining camp, as well as the CDC crisis team dispatched to deal with the epidemic. Foundation personnel then took over the investigation and terminated all affected personnel. Patient 0 was brought into captivity, and the mine shaft was collapsed by an explosive device. SCP-016 has an incubation period ranging from 24 hours to 2 years, depending on the presence and number of other human hosts in the area. First symptoms resemble the common cold, and include itchy eyes, runny nose, coughing, and bodily aches. Phase 2 begins in 48 hours, and consists of a controlled form of hemorrhagic fever, as the organism causes a small amount of blood to become aspirated in the lungs, creating an aerosol effect. During Phase 3, the host crashes and bleeds out, bleeding profusely from every bodily orifice, including the nose, tear ducts, anus, skin pores, mouth, urethra, and, in case of females, vagina. Blood pressure skyrockets during the final stage. Hosts have been observed projectile vomiting blood to distances of over 5 meters. Should the host survive this near-total exsanguination, the pathogen will become dormant once more, returning to incubation phase. What distinguishes SCP-016 from other strains of hemorrhagic fever such as Ebola and Marburg is its unusual response to high stress. Should the subject undergo a high-stress situation, such as a life-threatening crisis, the organism will change its survival tactic from rapid reproduction to the rewriting of the host's DNA and stimulation of rapid cell division. Major physiological changes occur within the first 24 hours, with complete bodily reconstruction occurring within 2 weeks' time. Most hosts do not survive the process due to the heavy demands made on the body. An interesting side effect of the transformation is an increased aggressive urge. It is believed that this may be an attempt to maximize the spread of the virus in a manner similar to rabies. On another note, subjects who undergo bodily transformation no longer appear to exhibit SCP-016's hemorrhagic properties. However, subjects infected by transformed hosts will still undergo the normal SCP-016 infection process. Addendum. Experiment log of SCP-016's transformative properties. Subject D-016-1. D-Class personnel infected by SCP-016. Upon first showing symptoms, subjects' quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. SCP-016 mutated into teratomorphic state, transforming subjects' lungs into gills. Subject survived for 2 more weeks as SCP-016 transformed its limbs into fins, caused its eyes to atrophy, and enhanced its sense of hearing into a cetacean-type echolocation ability. Subject was terminated by draining all water from its quarters, causing it to asphyxiate. Body was subsequently cremated without autopsy. Subject D-016-2. D-Class personnel infected by SCP-016. Upon first showing symptoms, subject's quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. SCP-016 mutated into teratomorphic state, causing subject to undergo rapid muscular growth and increased bone growth on knuckles. Subject then attempted to escape from confinement by punching through the reinforced steel door. Subject was not successful and died by drowning.
Note. Same situation, 2 different responses. Interesting.
Dr. Subject D-016-3. D-Class personnel infected by SCP-016. Subject was previously a chemical engineer who poisoned his wife upon discovering her adultery. Upon first showing symptoms, subject's quarters were slowly flooded with water over a 24-hour period. SCP-016 mutated into teratomorphic state, causing subject to grow an unusual organ on his chest, consisting of a chamber and 2 separate tubes. Organ continued to take in water and swell in size, until Foundation personnel, realizing what SCP-016 may be attempting, terminated the subject by gunshot. Organ was found to contain several gas sacs filled with acetylene gas and oxygen. Subject D-016-4. D-Class personnel infected by SCP-016. Subject was told to concentrate on forming wings. No stress was applied. SCP-016 did not mutate into teratomorphic state. Subject died of exsanguination during Phase 3. Subject D-016-5. D-Class personnel infected by SCP-016. Subject was told to concentrate on forming wings and placed in an acrylic box suspended 305 meters, 1,000 feet, above a mine shaft. A timer was placed outside the box which subject was told indicated the time to release. SCP-016 mutated into teratomorphic state, causing subject to grow a tentacle-like organ on his left wrist similar to a spider's spinnerets. Subject extended said organ through one of the box's air holes and extruded a strong, silk-like substance, which it then used to secure the box to the cable. Subject was terminated when the countdown reached 0 and the bomb detonated.